Hello, this is Phoeberia. Welcome to another one of my time lapses. I decided to try my hand at storytelling, but a bit different. So I hope you enjoy.
Ah, let's see where to begin. I grew up like many city wardens did. My grandmother was the matriarch of our pack, fair, just, honorable, and truly the wisest of us all. She had most of the family working with heavy lifting. We have the natural bulk to help pull and carry things. Unfortunately, our kin for a long time have had a bad rap. Many other clans dabbled in more illegal matters, and soon we too sunk low. When she died, it wasn't a surprise. She was an ancient haggard hound who worked harder than the rest of us. Though the moment she passed away, my aunt took control of the pack. My mother was supposed to be next in line, but she was a sickly and frail lady. Throughout my younger years in the City of Stars, I did little other than play about the neighborhood. But the moment I got to about 10, I was old enough to be a lookout with a few others for the older folks when smuggling supplies from shipyards or breaking into warehouses. No one really thinks twice to kids running around most of the time, and they were paying me pretty well. I took to it pretty well, especially once I got my first chance to help out. That first rush of escaping the law and acting wild. I was hooked. By the time I was 16, I was helping even more since I'd really grown into my teeth. I felt stronger than ever before, freshly maned and happy to run about and tussle. I helped guard doors, take bribes, beat down people, steal, kidnap, and so much more for those who paid me and the pack well. No one messed with us. We were bigger and meaner than anyone else, especially when we fought for border control and turf. We were loud and could throw our weight around. Felt like we were invincible. Felt like I was untouchable. After a while, I began going behind my clan's back, taking extra jobs. The clan didn't care so long as I followed our codes. I wasn't hiding it from them. I just didn't tell them. Besides, they knew what I was up to, and I would even ask a couple to help out at times. As for the code, it was simple. No matter the clan, we knew it by heart, almost followed it religiously. 1. Show no weakness, and mercy is a privilege to those of use. 2. Absolute loyalty to the clan. 3. Blood for blood. 4. Never trust those who dabble in the arcane. 5. Remember your place amongst the clan. They weren't anything hard to live by to us. It was in our blood, anyway. Though I somehow ended up breaking the fourth rule. When I became a young adult, the usual routine became boring, and I felt like my potential was being wasted shaking down small fry and fighting youngsters. I grew restless and wanted to test my limits. I started doing work for more powerful families, even a few nobles who wanted people gone. During one of these, I met the most beautiful lady, Amelia. But she was a sorceress, and by all means bad news to my kin. She was looking for some muscle for a job, and I took it without hesitation. Maybe I just wanted to prove myself, or maybe I was just showing off, but it worked. She took to me pretty well. Come to find out, her family didn't care much for my kin. We'd broken into their store yards and stolen stuff plenty of times in the past, but she was willing to look past it apparently. The heiress of a fortune, and she chose me to be at her side. Well, unbeknownst to her husband at the time, but we got around. I started helping bring more things into the city, bribe people higher up the noble houses, fight people more my speed, and win. I pulled further from my clan and soon cut ties, especially when it came to Amelia. I devoted my time to her cause, to try and conquer the city. I handled the dirty work and she handled more political or fancy matters. I'll admit, I was blind back then, arrogant and prideful. I was soon her guard. I didn't care for the more clean-cut life, but it had its own charm. Soon as all my ties were cut with my family, she came to me with a request. A way that she and I could sit at the top of our little empire. I simply had to get rid of her husband. It really wasn't hard. Just taking a ride through the city could be dangerous. It wasn't hard to just dump him somewhere near the edge of the city, let the wild take him quick and clean. No one knew until he was missing. Once he was gone, I took my place at her side, though the peace didn't last long. There was a crackdown in law enforcement throughout the city, and many local groups were being forced back into hiding. They were making examples out of any and everyone, and they had their eyes set on avenging Amelia and her missing husband. She adored the attention, but after a while I think she grew paranoid and I had to distance myself from her to keep suspicion at bay. Now, being in charge of a whole company, she became the center of the media pretty quickly, especially with her pregnancy. People pitied her for being a widow and in such rough times. It was only when she had the kid that I realized it was mine. Hard to hide, Warden genes. We're sort of big babies to begin with. This definitely scared her. The cops would know about the affair and the media would have a field day, so it wasn't long till, well, she got rid of us both. Threatened me to leave the city and not to show my face again. It was a flimsy threat at best, but it's not as though I could do anything with all the blackmail she'd have against me. If she was to burn, I would be thrown upon the pyre as well. So I did what was best for me and the little one at the time. We left the city and moved into another one. It wasn't as packed and bustling as the capital, but it was busy enough to disappear into. I couldn't go back to my family after all the rules I broke and how disrespectful I was in general. They'd definitely kill me on sight. So, with the new life, I tried my best to be someone new. Took on the name Bo and did good by my son, Ket. It was rough at first, but met the right people. Got a small place and worked odd jobs here and there. After maybe a year, I got a more stable job with deliveries in a flower shop. For another 2 years, things were good, but Amelia wormed her way into my life again. Well, in her own way. Napping with my kid when some thugs kicked open the door and dragged me out. Last I actually saw of Ket. Though I heard later on, he's in a good family and was well taken care of, so there's no reason to bother him. Anyways, turns out she sold me to the Church of Grimm. Got me added to the harvest for some ritual. I remember the church was headed by a monster by the same name. A creature of unknown age, cold white skin, always wore a veil and robes. But the black antlers and claws were enough to dissuade anyone. I don't know where they took me. I was unconscious for most of it. Just remember waking up in some dark room with a couple dozen others. We were chained to various points of the floor, not really able to move, much less approach each other. Couldn't do much but talk. Learned a lot of names of people who would never see the light of day again. The place was always dark, so there was no way of telling the time. I just know it was a very long time. Many didn't last very long with the rituals and all. Anytime someone kicked the bucket, they dragged more people in, though they accomplished what they were trying to do at the very least. They chained us all and left, and after a few days something changed. I didn't feel hungry anymore despite the lack of food. I wasn't scared of what might happen, I felt numb to it all. I thought it was just the darkness of the room, but apparently I'd lost consciousness at some point. When I woke up, I was in the room alone, and when they opened the door, I saw Grimm. He welcomed me to his family. I was confused at first, but as I moved around, I realized what had happened, what I looked like. What Grimm had hid beneath those robes, the twisted and thin form that I am now. Fortunately for him and the few others like him there, seems I kept enough of my warden blood to put my rage to use. I tore through him, that place and whatever else that resembled me in the slightest. Then I just ran away.
Thanks for watching. I hope to have part 2 done very soon, and I hope to tell a few other stories of a few other characters, worlds, and adventures later on. Please check out the description below for more information. Until next time, bye-bye.